model the growth of a magma chamber, and then furthering onto an eruption of a wax volcano. So we're currently melting the wax a little bit so it kind of settles into the bottom of the flask, and then we're going to pour sand on top of it to create the Earth's crust. Once we do that, we're going to cover that all with water, so when the wax volcano erupts, we can see its trajectory and avoid horrible wax burns. Alright, now that we've got our wax all melted and even and cooled, we're going to add sand, which will represent the Earth's crust. Like sands through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives. Boom. So, here we go. To keep the wax from splattering out and to also demonstrate atmosphere and kind of show us the way things erupt, which is cool because when it breaks through, it sort of cools it immediately, and then it sort of forms these beautiful clouds of pyroclastic material. We're going to add a bunch of water. Scientific measurement, a bunch. Alright, now we're just going to let this wax magma chamber heat up, and we'll just watch it as it happens, and I'll tell you more about what's going on as we progress. So, as the magma chamber and the crust, they sit on top of the stove, and the heat from, we'll say it's gaining heat from the earth. The magma, obviously closest to the heat, is more liquid, and there's a layer between the crust and the magma chamber that is solidified magma, and that will eventually have to melt and break through. So I had tragedy strike right. So here we have the epic conclusion. My phone ran out of space right as it was happening. Delete things on your phone, you will run out of storage. So the magma found a weak spot in the crust, and it was less dense than the water above it. So as it was hot liquid, it shot out from the crust, and have these two little jets there coming out, and it formed this column straight up, and then it hit the curve of the flask there, and sort of made this beautiful pyroclastic cloud. So what happened? So as the wax melted, the magma chamber began to breathe. I built a little mini dome, and pressure built between the melted wax and the sort of solidified wax on top of it, and the sand and the pressure of the water kind of kept it all contained. But once that wax was all the way melted through and it broke through the wax barrier, the less dense magma shot up and erupted. So here we can see the bottom of the magma chamber, now that everything's cooled, and all of the sand has fallen to the bottom, which is what you would expect sand to do because it's an unconsolidated material, and it has collapsed into the magma chamber, replacing the magma that has shot out into the air. So for a second kind of fun experiment, I wanted to make popcorn in my flask. So I wanted to demonstrate vesiculation and fragmentation with popcorn and oil. So we have this oil heating up here in the Erlenmeyer flask, and our popcorn, and we had a little bit of butter, hoping that we'd make popcorn and not toxic waste. Um, so what I wanted to show is, as a pile of material, like the popcorn kernels and the oil all together, as it heats up and the popcorn expands and starts to um, gesticulate and fragment into these big chunks of popcorn that are, in my imagined idea of this, come out of the top of the flask. Uh, so we'll see what happens here. It's kind of a half attempt, but I put a lid on the top to try to keep the pressure and heat inside to pop the popcorn, but the burner was running very hot and kind of hard to control the temperature. There's two different gauges on that stove, or valves. So you can see there's sort of all of this steam and kind of cloud forming from the popped corn. And at first it sort of seems like water vapor, and then it goes wrong very fast. It turns into burnt popcorn gas, which I will liken to sulfur gas from like a volcanic vent. So right about here, I'm kind of realizing that, oh no, the popcorn is burning, and you see some brown liquids form on the side of the flask, and the popcorn is burning, and all of these toxic gases that coming out of the top. gas is lingering in the flask. It doesn't have anything pushing it up, but it is kind of seeping out, and it smells awful. And shooting out tiny kind of pops of hot Bella just got hit by liquid material, which is the leftover pyroclastic oil. My debris. assistant got a burn on her arm. She's very sad about it. So now that the smoke is cleared, we can see what happened to the popcorn. Instead of being this light, fluffy, kind of explosive out of the top of the flask thing, it all kind of solidified together and formed these sort of this rock, essentially. So it was a fun experiment, but it did not work.